for that, I would like to introduce Study Melbourne, and I would like to introduce Fiona Leto, who's the Director of International Education of Global Victoria. Always got to make sure we get the names right because they're often very long. And I'm going to hand it over to Fiona to say a few words.
Thanks so much, Jared. That was a really terrific introduction. And hi, everyone. It's absolutely brilliant to be here today. As Gerard said, I am Fiona Litos. I'm the Director of International Education in Global Victoria. And Global Victoria is the Victorian Government's trade facilitation agency, but we also focus on making sure that Victoria is well connected to global partners internationally. And international students, of course, are a significant priority for Global Victoria. And we sit in the Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions. So I'd first like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of country throughout Victoria. Of course, we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and we pay our respects to elders of other communities who may be joining us today. Welcome everyone to the official launch of Study Melbourne Career Catalyst. This is the first career accelerator of its kind in Australia. It's exclusive and it's free for international students in Victoria. As you've heard, Study Melbourne, in collaboration with Outcome.Life, has designed Career Catalyst to ensure you get the right skills to support and launch your career. So Career Catalyst will also champion international students to employers as highly skilled, globally connected talent. And it's part of our strength-based, student-centred approach, which provides end-to-end support, everything through resume checking, interview coaching, workshops, and mentoring to support your career development, your professional skills, and of course, your networking skills. So this program's really an opportunity for you to empower your own career journey and give you the tools to achieve, it sounds corny, but to achieve your dreams. So supporting international student employability has always been really important to us in the Victorian Government, but now more so than ever, because we are really aware and very cognizant that many of you have personally experienced the pretty severe impacts of COVID-19. International students have had it especially hard. Many of you have been in really vulnerable employment. Many of you have lost work, and we completely see that you're trying to re-enter a really competitive jobs market. So the Victorian Government recognises the enormous economic and entrepreneurial potential of our international student community, and we see great benefits in nurturing you and nurturing your potential. Everything from giving you the skills to help you get your first job, building those important career skills, to you being able to succeed in your chosen field. And of course, talent attraction and retention are really critical in Victoria for addressing our skills shortages, driving innovation, and helping the Victorian economy to recover post-COVID-19. Yet we're really aware that Victorian employees remain largely unaware or not necessarily engaged in the potential of local international students. And we really hope to change that. So we think that the Study Melbourne Career Catalyst will actually be quite a game changer. We think it'll give you a very solid return on your investment in choosing to study in Victoria. And of course, your education experience is a really critical component of that, but this service will go a step further to expand your employability skills, your social connections and your professional networks, and that's essentially what Career Catalyst is all about. So some of our measures of success are going to be about increasing student workforce participation, both during your study, but also to prepare you for graduate employment, as well as measures of success around industry and employer engagement through some targeted campaign work. So we're really committed to making sure you have the best possible time while you're in Victoria, and to be able to experience all that Victoria and Melbourne has to offer and all of the opportunities that Melbourne in particular, as Australia's most livable city and most innovative city, has to offer. So we're also going to be announcing a couple of new initiatives funded in the recent Victorian Government state budget, and there's some really terrific initiatives around edutourism and importantly also around entrepreneurship. So please do stay connected to the Study Melbourne website, much more information to follow. So shortly you're going to hear from the fantastic team at Outcome.Life about the details of the exciting initiatives on offer. We look forward to getting into the detail there and starting the workshop. We really hope that you sign up for everything. We hope you enjoy getting to know each other and have fun. And we hope that this service will also be delivered face-to-face out of the Study Melbourne Student Centre, which is in Hardware Lane. We're really keen to get back to the Study Melbourne Student Centre. We share a space there with Outcome.Life, so we hope that in the future, not too distant future, you'll be able to meet face-to-face. So on behalf of Victorian Government and Study Melbourne, we wish you all the very best. We think that 2021 is going to bring some fantastic new opportunities. Good luck, and we hope that you enjoy this fantastic program. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Fiona, and a great introduction. And it really is pleasing to see how much the Victorian Government is investing legitimately into looking after international students and following up with some great actions. I will talk a little bit more about Career Catalyst. Before I do that, the people you're going to meet today, I might just quickly introduce, but I'm Jared, I probably didn't say it at the start, but founder of Outcome.Life, and Dom, who you may be able to see on your screen, founder of Outcome.Life as well, and he's going to lead today's webinar with Tom and Shashini, who Tom is a very prominent business person in Melbourne, has had several businesses, very entrepreneurial and extremely well connected. And Shashini, who has just an amazing story of international students, who Tom mentioned before that he was going to change his name to being Shashini's assistant. So it wasn't that long ago that Shashini was an intern to Tom, and now Tom thinks he reports into Shashini. So we'll talk through her story as well. I am going to share my screen very quickly because this is the best way to show everyone the capability that we have with Career Catalyst and the type of services that you now have access to. And so we mentioned that we have put together a whole stream of activity, and we do encourage you to get involved as much as you can. We've only launched this 2 days ago, and I'll quickly talk through the items we have here. The first one is resume and LinkedIn coaching. So we've put together an on-demand service. We've already had 30 people in the last 48 hours register to have their CV reviewed. It is a calendar booking system. You book in a time that suits you. We'll have someone there ready and waiting with automated calendar invites. It's really important to think about. I know a lot of students really focus on their CVs, but after today's webinar, you will 100% agree with this. You need to put double the amount of time into your LinkedIn profile. You cannot ignore LinkedIn anymore, even as a student. Interview workshops. So we've put together regular workshops about interview training. One of Dom's very big quotes or favourite quotes is that you don't get a job with your CV, you get it in the interview. The CV or your LinkedIn profile gets you to the interview, but you always get the job in the interview. But there's really been a lack of focus on actually helping students and graduates prepare for an interview, because it can be bloody daunting. Believe me, I remember doing interviews. I haven't done one for a while, but it's pretty scary. So, but there are techniques you can use to make sure you nail interviews. Employability webinars, that's what we're doing today. We're kicking off with the rules of the game, how to get a job in Australia. The reason we call it the rules of the game is because we find most students, particularly international students, don't know how to play the game properly. And in fact, they play it the completely wrong way. And today is going to be talking about how you need to know the rules around how it works getting a job and how to play the game to your advantage. And a real life case study is Shashini. We have put together a interview preparation course. So we would encourage you to do this course before you have the interview workshops, but we will provide you with all the tips and tricks about how to nail a job interview, particularly around, you will now have interviews online. We've just recently hired someone in our business. We still have not met them face to face, and we've done about 3 interviews. It's all been done on Zoom. And I think what we'll find is that business owners and line managers and HR, it's a lot more time efficient to have at least the first interview on video conference. Quick, done, in, out. Right? Because for business people, interviewing people is very time consuming. So get used to the fact you'll probably have a lot of first time round interviews on Zoom, and then maybe a second interview might be in person. We're putting together some casual and part-time employment opportunities, so looking at pathways there. There's a few exciting announcements to come on that shortly, particularly with a lot of work in regional Victoria. There's a lot of farm work available at the minute, particularly over summer, so you can get paid, quite well if you're prepared to go and perhaps move a bit out or look at ways that you can go a bit more regional for lots and lots of farm work that is available. And we're also looking at other casual and part-time employment opportunities. Mentoring, also with the Victorian government, we are setting up an international student mentoring program with Rotary. So very experienced business people that are going to offer up their time to mentor Victorian international students. There's a full, very sophisticated program being set up for that. At the minute, we are taking interests of registration in order to launch the program next year. So if you are interested in mentoring, please register. The people that are registering now will get prioritised. Pre-accelerator program. Dom has run now the pre-accelerator program for startups. If anyone wants an international student that has a startup idea, we've been running a pre-accelerator that will be happening again next year. Again, register your interest for that. And LinkedIn workshops. We've already ran the first LinkedIn workshop yesterday. Incredible feedback we've received from it. I mentioned it just 5 minutes ago that LinkedIn is more important than your CV, and you will be convinced of that today. And every time I say it, you'll see Tom nodding his head because I doubt Tom. I know Dom and I wouldn't. We would not hire anyone that does not have a LinkedIn profile. It is that important. So that's the summary of what's available at the minute. Fiona did mention about the student centre at Hardware Lane. As soon as we are allowed to get back in the city and on premises, we'll be running face-to-face events again. We've run probably over 400 or 500 events over the last 5 years, Outcomes.Life. Probably 20,000 people have attended our events. We make them very engaging, great networking opportunities. We're going to try and organise some premium events for next year. I think everyone is just dying to get out of the house. But that depends on the COVID-19 restrictions. We're doing pretty well here in Australia. Let's keep that up. And we look forward to having face-to-face events again. That is it from me. I'm going to now stop talking. We welcome everyone to the Career Catalyst program. I would encourage you, we've had, I think Steph mentioned, 75% of everyone that's registered for something in Career Catalyst has already registered for 3 things. As you can see, there's a lot of options there. Get engaged, get involved. If you like certain things, tell your friends. It's all free for Victorian international students, and we are only going to focus on things that actually help you get a job. And that's our promise from Dom and I. We are only going to put things in front of you and ask you to do things that we legitimately think will help you get a job. I'm going to turn my camera off now. I'm going to hand it over to Dom, Shashini, and Tom, and I'm sure they are going to absolutely wow you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jared. Really appreciate it. Now, I've shared my screen. Hopefully you guys can see this image. This is probably our favourite image. And Jared, if you had just said you didn't want to speak anymore, I would have asked you to explain this because it's your favourite image. Just take us through this as a farewell to everyone on this webinar. What do you think of this?
Dom, you know you don't have to beg me to chime in with my opinions on stuff, so that's not a problem. So this is my favourite slide because I think it accurately represents what the job market is all about, and that is that 85% of jobs are never advertised. Yet we find probably 95%, particularly the international students that we meet, will spend 5 hours a night on Seek applying for every job they possibly can, and it is a complete waste of time. You need to focus on the top part of this iceberg where all the jobs are available.
Sorry, the bottom part.
The bottom part, sorry, in the hidden job arc, the 85%. So if you flip an iceberg around then, the 85% is the hidden jobs. So why spend all your time in the 15%? You need to focus on that 85%, the hidden job market. And the whole webinar today is pretty much about how do you access that 85% of jobs that are in the hidden job market. And that's really what today's about.
Yep. Thanks, Jared. And so we've got 2 amazing guests today. Number 1 is Shashini. Now, Shashini is, you know, I'd love to say our favourite international student of all time. If she isn't the favourite international student, she's right up there. So I met Shashini, when was it, Shashini? Probably in February this year. You were contemplating doing an internship, but you weren't going to do it because you thought that during lockdown that you're going to have to do it remotely, and were thinking, you know, it's not going to be worthwhile. Thank goodness you decided to do an internship. And we'll talk about Shashini's internship in a moment, but just to whet your appetite, Shashini, by the time she finished her internship, under the guidance of her supervisor, Tom, who I'll introduce in a moment, was not offered 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 jobs from companies she's never met. She was offered 6. And she did that all because she had a fantastic attitude and a terrific supervisor in Tom, who I'm going to introduce in a moment. So, Shashini, welcome. We love to have you here.
Thanks.
No worries. Our other guest is Tom, and Tom Jamison from Zayzoon is a typical employer or contemporary employer that we deal with at Outcome.Life. Someone that really does understand and values the everything that international students have given up to come to this country to study and perhaps to migrate. And I think, you know, Tom has now taken, how many interns have you taken now, Tom, with us?
I think we've lost count a little bit. Certainly more than 10 in the last year. So, and been fantastic value.
And you know, Tom has been instrumental in either employing the interns at the end of the internships, or referring them to his mates. Because let's face it, when Tom had an intern, he's just spent 3 months training them. So therefore, who better than his mates who are CEOs of other businesses to take on these wonderful people who have just done terrifically in the internship. So I might start with you, Tom. Tell us, you know, a little bit about, you know, the whole process of taking on interns and international students, and what you feel is important about international students accessing the hidden job market.
Sure. Well, I think first of all, it's fantastic, Fiona. Thank you. It's so good to have the Victorian government on board with helping international students. I think you've got the best partner in the world with Outcome.Life. I've had experience with various internship companies, and Outcome is by far and away the best. So I'm very, very excited to hear it. I know that you mentioned that that the job market is tough in the COVID environment. What I see lots of opportunities for international students in the job market in Melbourne. Businesses need good people. There are lots of areas where they can't find them. I know that because, you know, we struggle to find really good people. Thankfully, we've got Outcome that helps us with that. Lots of other business people I know are in the same situation. And I guess, so I'd probably start by saying there's a misconception in Australia by international students that Australian companies only want to hire Australian people. It's not the case. It's absolutely not the case. Australian companies just want good people, right? We couldn't care less if you come from Antarctica or the North Pole, right? We don't care. If you can do your job well, you will get a job in Australia, right? COVID has been tough. Australia has been very lucky. We've fared through it well. I know it's been tough for international students, but 2021, we will see a recovery period. Vaccines are now rolling. So it's likely to be, there's been so much back pressure on everything that hasn't been able to be done, whether it's weddings or events or driver's licenses, any of those things. So that the first half of next year is going to be very, very busy, and I suspect very buoyant. The skills a lot of international students have got in IT and data and user experience and cyber, these are all areas of the world that desperately need good people. So the opportunities are out there. The I think one of them, those misconceptions about international students working in Australia is that they're spending too much time in the wrong places looking for jobs. So the LinkedIn sort of workshops and seminars that Outcome are running are absolutely critical. You can't miss them. And, you know, I didn't get Shashini her job. She got the job herself. I gave her 0.5% of a bit of direction so that to put her on the right path to getting a job. But that path through Seek, and I can give you some really real life examples on that. Seek is not the way to find a job. Maybe through some luck you might find something through Seek, but as that slide about the hidden job market is absolutely accurate. I've used Seek, so let me tell you very quickly about the experience. I put a job ad up, I turned away, it was for an operations manager. Someone came into my office. I looked back and there was 50 resumes there. Then I had to go and do something else. I came back, there was 200 resumes there in half an hour. At that point, I stopped, right? I dug through some of those resumes, which was a very painful process, and found a couple of people who sort of fit the job description. And then I did not look at any of the other resumes that came through, and we had hundreds more. So it's really hard to get people's time to meet with candidates. So you don't want to go back and go through all those other resumes once you've got a commitment from the other people in the business to meet the first group that you've come across, right? So the other 300 resumes that came through, I never looked at, right? From your side, as someone who's applying for a job, you go off for lunch, you come back and see that a new job went up 30 minutes ago. You think, I'm perfect for that job, and you go to send your resume. You're already too late, right? Because I've made my decisions about who we're going to meet, and I don't want to go back and look at more. So it's a real, and then from your side, you're sitting there thinking, nobody wants me. My skills were perfect for that job. How come they didn't call me? They only want to hire Australian people. When the fact is, they just never even saw your resume. LinkedIn is completely different, right? And you've got to have a good LinkedIn profile. It's really hard to overestimate how important that is. There's always jobs out there. There are always employers who need people. There are the students who need jobs. So you have to find a venue where you can meet each other. And it's not Seek, it's LinkedIn, right? A good LinkedIn photograph, just the photograph, gets 15 times more views than a low quality one, right?
Tom, what do you mean by a good photograph? Because I go on about this all the time.
Right. LinkedIn is not Facebook. It's not Instagram. It is a business platform. So you need to have a photograph that looks like you're in business. If you go into Zayzoon, and I urge you to, which is our business, I've helped nearly every one of our staff members to redo their photograph so that it looks appropriate for LinkedIn. You should look professional, friendly, and smart, right? So if you've got a picture of yourself sitting on a motorbike, right, when you're on the Great Ocean Road, wrong photo. Maybe good for Facebook, not good for LinkedIn. So you need a plain background. You need to be dressed as though you're going to work on Friday, so it's a casual day, but you've got a big meeting on. So you want to have your hair done. You want to, make sure that you're looking sharp and smart. That's the sort of photograph. A bit of a smile, not too much. You don't want to be too over-friendly. But, it needs to look like a serious photograph. So spend the time. Have a look at the photographs of the people at Zayzoon. That's the type of photograph you need to have. Plain background, white shirt, something open collar. You don't need to be wearing a tie. And get that photograph right. And then you have to get your LinkedIn. Shashini has got a great photograph. If you look at it, who's running that? Can you just double click on her picture?
Yep.
Okay. She's got that nice smile on her face. There's not too much of a smile. The smile's making it to her eyes. She looks knowledgeable and she looks wise. You just look at that photograph and go, I'd really like to work with her. I reckon she'd be a really great presence in the office. Shashini and I took 100 photographs to get that one. Seriously. And I was showing someone yesterday, I went back into my WhatsApp when Shashini sent me those photographs through. We did 100 photographs to get the right photograph for LinkedIn. Spend the time on it. Get your LinkedIn profile correct. So let me explain why LinkedIn is so important. There is a product in LinkedIn called LinkedIn Recruiter. We use it all the time, right? We use it for sales. We use it to find people. But LinkedIn Recruiter allows you to see all of your connections, and their connections, right? If you don't have a strong LinkedIn presence, you don't show up in the searches, right? If you've got 150 connections and they're all from your home country, and I'm looking for a user experience designer and you're a user experience designer, then I'm not going to find you, right? You need to generate connections. You need to generate 500 connections because then it says 500 plus on LinkedIn. When I look at LinkedIn profiles and the person's got 125 connections, I think, if you're in IT, I think, how can this person not understand about LinkedIn? If you're in marketing, it's worse. Like LinkedIn is such a valuable marketing channel. How can this person not be on it well? If you don't have a LinkedIn profile at all and you send me your resume, I'm thinking, why don't they have a LinkedIn profile? Do they not understand how technology works? Are they running away from the police? Like, I mean, and it's, or does nobody like them? Like what? And obviously those things aren't real, right? But there's nothing positive about not having a LinkedIn profile. So you've got to work on it. Shashini is fantastic. We've got another girl who came to us through Outcome. Her name's Aida. She's had 15 job interviews and she's had 4 job offers. I never stopped doing reference checks for her. She put the 2 things together. She's got the skills, like so many international students do. There are all the jobs out there. She did the work in the middle, which is on LinkedIn. So I can't urge you guys enough to
What do you think of this photo, Tom? This is one of my favourite ones. What do you tell me about this photo? What do you think of this?
Okay, so obvious, you guys are coming into Australia to work as executives, right? That photograph says I'm a student and I'm immature and I've got no understanding of how Australia works, right? I'm just going to bypass that straight away. You can't have images like that. Right, it doesn't matter how proud you are of what university you've been to. If you've done your MBA at MIT, don't be wearing your graduation gown. It just makes you look like a student and you have to present as though you're an executive. So get those photographs right and then get your profile right. You have to explain what you've done in bullet points. Shashini and I work hard on her profile. There's a whole bunch of people on this call. Connect with me. So all of you think about how many LinkedIn connections you've got at the moment, right? I've got 5,800. And in the last month, I've tried to connect with 1,000 people and I've got connections back from 300, right? So if you connect with me, you will then be able to be seen by all my 5,000 connections and all of theirs as well.
So Tom, I might just stop you there because I'd love to introduce Shashini now and get her to talk about her experience with you. And there's no doubt that Shashini cracked the jackpot in getting you as a supervisor in an internship, but it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Shashini's attitude. So Shashini,
but Tom, just to sort of, I just told Shashini what I'm telling all you guys now, right? I've told this to so many people. I've told it to some of our interns who haven't acted on it. Act on it. You've spent all this time and energy and money coming and working in Australia. There's great opportunities here. It's a very wealthy country, right? And it's got a strong currency relative to a lot of the countries that international students come from. You can make a really good life here, but like Shashini's doing, you've just got to put it together. So yes, maybe Shashini was a bit lucky to get me, but Shashini's great. Lots of our international students are great. She just listened and put it together. And Aida, some of our others have as well. They've all got jobs, right? is the ones who haven't listened and haven't done it, they've struggled to get jobs, right? It's really straightforward.
And intent is something that that is very visible. You can tell if someone's going through the motions of, you know, just wanting to get PR, whereas other people who want a career. So, but we're going to talk.
Tom, I've got a guy who I used to work with. He's got his MBA from Monash. He's got his bachelor's degree in accounting. He's fantastic. And he came to me and he was all sad. And he said, I haven't been able to get a job. I looked at his LinkedIn. He's got 273 connections. And I said, Ilya, I'll help you get a job, but you've got to get your connection levels up. 4 weeks later, he's got 275 connections. So I sent him a message and I said, what are you doing? Like, are you serious about getting a job or not? Are you going to go back home to Israel with, you know, not having worked for a year with your head in your hands, or are you going to do the work? Like, there's only so much I can do for you. I was quite brutal with him, and it's the same for everyone on this call. You can do the work or not do the work. If you do the work, you'll get a job, right? Or you'll at least give yourself the very best chance to. There are lots of jobs out there. If you don't do the work, it's going to be hard, right?
Yes. Fantastic. Thanks, Tom. And what we're talking about here is in accessing the hidden job market is something I put in the chat, and that is you've got to build your professional network. And we're going to give you some tips on that, and Tom, I'll get you to give us a few more tips in a moment. You've got to create your LinkedIn. Do an internship if you can. If your university offers you, like Shashini, the option to elect to do a work placement instead of another subject, take it, because it's very, very important. Meetups are really important. We're going to talk about that in a sec. Volunteer, again, do internships. And participation in community events and sport is really good too. But Shashini, welcome. Great to have you along again. How's things going with you in your new job?
Oh, it's been great. I've been really busy now.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for spending time with us. Tell us your story about, because you went to one of these wonderful universities where you could take an internship instead of doing another subject. Tell us how that all came about.
Yeah, so like at first I didn't had any idea of doing an internship, but like when I came and when everyone was talking regarding you have got this internship, and everyone was like telling me don't do the internship because like it's not worthy, and it will be just like you will be ended up quickly, you will finish your study quickly, then you won't be able to get those 5 points or something for the PR. So all those talks were there, but like then I decided I know I'm gonna do the internship. Then COVID came, and actually like so I was on the fence, sitting on the fence, thinking what to do, doing the internship or switching to do another subject or the project. Then like obviously I talked to Dom, and then I thought no, I'm gonna do the internship no matter it will get my studies postponed, or if I have to extend my visa, doesn't matter, I'm going to do this. I decided no matter what anyone else saying, I'm not going to listen to those things, I'm going to do this. So then I started doing the internship, and I got into Zaysoon, and which is under my supervisor Tom. So it has been really great to work under him. He has been a great mentor to me. And yes, as he said, and I need to say, I acted on each and everything he said. And I think that's why it paid me this way. That's why I found all these jobs, and I'm doing really good on a job now. So it's really important, not only like everyone, even now we are telling, right now we are also telling these people, you can do this, but it doesn't like it. All those are useless if they don't act on these. Like that's what I see. Most of the time people listen to all this, but they never do this. For an example, yeah.
But hang on, so a couple of points of clarification though for everyone. You never met Tom physically until perhaps towards the end of the internship. When
we never met during the internship.
Ever.
We didn't meet physically until after Shashini had her job.
Yeah. And so that's one point. The other one is that when I met you, I think you had 14 connections on your LinkedIn. I think I was number 15.
13 actually. 13 connections. I had 13 connections. And because I was from Sri Lanka, and like in my country, LinkedIn isn't used as like in Australia. So I never paid attention to growing my connections, or I actually thought it's just like another social media platform, to be honest, at first.
And so, what did Tom tell you about growing your LinkedIn, and when did he tell you that? At the start?
He gave me a target, actually. He said, Shash, you need to get your LinkedIn connections screwed up by this weekend, but by this Friday or Sunday. I said, okay, I'll get it done. I thought, he said, like, okay, I'm going to give you till Sunday. I said, no, just give me till Friday. I'm going to show you that I'm going to grow my connections. But
Wow.
So what I did was, and he showed me how to do it. He walked me through how to talk, how to get connected to people. He showed me that when connecting to people, we must send a message, not just send the connection request, send a message. Like why you are sending it. You might not know that people, but a simple message as to say hi, like I hope you might be reaching me out of blue. It would be great to add you to my professional contacts. And he showed me that I can find for people in the area that I'm interested in, and I can send requests to those people. I can read what the people have written, the articles written by them, and appreciate them, send them an appreciate message with my LinkedIn connection request. So I did all those little bit of things, and until LinkedIn said me, no, you can't. You can't send any more requests for this month.
So you actually topped it out, but that's a really important one. And Tom, I'd love you to explain this. Tell us, because everyone asks me, Dom, how do you build your LinkedIn presence? And I really want to focus in on the one where you go and engage with people who are putting content on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So a couple of things. First of all, I think you can send out about 50 connect requests per day. If you're an international student, you should be maxing that out every single day. LinkedIn should be telling you no more, you can't send any more. The other side of it is 60%, 70% of people won't connect with you. So what, right? You want to get with 30% who will every day. As I said, I sent out 1,000 LinkedIn Connect requests in the last month, and we're tracking them. I've had about 300 people accept my requests. So what if they don't connect with you, right? But one good way to do it, you've got to try and connect with people who can potentially help you get a job, right? If you come from Sri Lanka and you've got 500 LinkedIn connections who are in Sri Lanka, how's that going to help you get a job in Melbourne, right? It's not just about numbers, it's about the right type of people as well. So if you're in IT, look up IT managers, look up articles in the languages that you've written, that have been, that you know how to code in. And people who've written articles about that, how does Java work? What does JavaScript do? How do you code in Python or in Ruby? Or how do you do back-end development? Send them a message. Say, hi, look up who wrote the article. Say, hi, John. Hi, whoever. I just read an article that you wrote about Python. It was fascinating and it really gave me a new understanding. It would be an honor to connect with you. They'll all connect back. The reason being, and I've written so much stuff and I put out on LinkedIn, all my blood, sweat and tears writing my beautiful articles that I think are so smart, and then no one reads them. So when someone comes back to me and says, hey, I read it and I liked it and it meant something, well, suddenly all my hard work seems to have been a little bit worthwhile and my ego feels a little bit better. So of course I'm going to connect and say, thank you. So use those sorts of things. Right? Get your LinkedIn profile looking right. If that girl who was holding the teddy bear with her gown on, if she tried to connect with me, I'd say absolutely no. If she tried to connect with me, I'd look at her and I'd say, you know what? I might need a user experience designer, a multimedia developer. I'll definitely connect with her so I can stay in touch. She looks really nice, actually. She looks smart. She looks like she's friendly. She's the sort of person I'd want to have in our office.
And remember too, everyone, in Australia, we don't have a manufacturing sector. We don't make anything here. People work with people. We're a service economy. So therefore, we're always looking for people that we could work with. So Shashini, tell me, so at the end of that Friday, what was your target? What did you have to, how many people did you need to get by that Friday?
He said, like, you need to get 500 connections, 500 plus. I did it, but the only thing is LinkedIn said, no, you can't send any more requests. So until that, I got it. And I said, oh, come on, Tom, look, I did my best, but LinkedIn is now saying you can't send any more requests. Then he said, okay, but I didn't give up. So as soon as, like, the thing with the LinkedIn request connection is once it is all done, then until another person accepts it, you can send a request. So I waited. Whenever I get a notice that someone has accepted, I sent another request to the next one I have in my line.
Good.
So that's I spend at least 1 hour every day till I get my connections. What Tom said me, get 500 plus and then stop. Then the people will come to you. And honestly, now today I have 1,000 plus connections. Wow. And 500 plus. I stopped from there. I didn't send requests for all the other 500. I got all those requests.
Now, Shani, when did you finish your internship? Because it was only recently that you finished, within a couple of months from memory.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple of months, and that's fantastic. But tell me, so now that you got your LinkedIn happening and people started noticing you on LinkedIn, what happened towards the end of your internship?
So I got all these job offers, which I thought I would never get, because if I tell, like, I used to be an IT teacher. So I never thought, although I knew that I know IT, but I thought that someone in Australia would never hire me because I used to be a teacher. I can't go and tell them until they ask me. I can't go and tell them, oh, here, look, I know IT and I was an IT teacher. So, but what happens was Tom said, look, Shashin, you have done this and you can do this. They have got this, like we had this, one of this project in Zone. So where we were developing a learning platform. So he said, since you were a teacher, you would be really helpful in that section. And one note, I did masters in major in computer systems and networking. And I could still remember the very first day I met you, Dom. You asked me, who do you want to be? I said, I want to be a network administrator. And you said, oh, come on, those jobs doesn't exist anymore. And I was thinking myself, what am I going to do? Because I thought I want to be a network administrator, because that is what you do when you do network administrating as your subjects. But look, now I'm a marketing and a development coordinator. So what happened was, so then Tom directed me what's in the industry now, what requires of the industry now, what are the most emerging technologies. And he said, you can study these. And I study all those, not to the depth, but I study these new softwares within few weeks. I can say I took all the 12 weeks of my internship to learn those. Tom guided me, and I could say, and Tom would agree, I learned them within 1 to 2 weeks. Yes, all the, to be specifically said, I learned all the Adobe Creative softwares, which made me a multimedia designer and a UX UI designing. I didn't know about UX UI designing until that. Then I learned all those tools. And eventually with the LinkedIn brushing up and me learning those, I just didn't made up my LinkedIn and waited there all the job offers to come to me. What I did was I learned all the tools I can as much as possible while I'm making my LinkedIn. So yeah.
And so that's a very, very important point for everyone. And that is that most graduate roles are all about software. And it is not the university's responsibility to teach you the latest and greatest in software, because it changes so quickly. University curriculums are set 5 to 7 years in advance. There's no way they're going to know that Tableau is now the #1 data visualization tool on the planet, or that the latest thing that Adobe's brought out. So Tom, again, being a terrific supervisor, has asked Shashini to learn contemporary tools and utilising every single bit of your degree, I dare say, Shashini, in IT. It's just that you're focused in an area that Tom saw that you're really, really good at.
Yeah.
So with 2 weeks to go of your interview, how many of these job offers came in?
6.
6! That is unbelievable. So it's interesting, because a lot of international students say, no one wants to hire me. I'm from Sri Lanka, I didn't go to Melbourne Uni, I didn't get great marks, you know, whinge, yet you didn't go to what's called the number one. Like in Australia, no one cares what university you go to. Am I right, Tom? No one cares.
No.
And no one cares what marks you get.
No. They're pretty rare.
And no one cares what country you come from. And no one cares about your level of English as long as you can communicate.
Yeah, I'm just looking out into our office. We've got someone from China, someone from Sri Lanka, someone from Bangladesh, someone from India, someone from Indonesia, and someone from Colombia. They're the people I can see. I can't see an Australian, someone who was born here, right? So guys, it's a bad excuse if you're saying that people won't hire international students. They absolutely will.
Yep. And that's fantastic. And so, Shashini, of those 6, because I remember you were actually sending me messages on LinkedIn at the time saying, I got a job interview. And I said, oh, great. Then I think it was later that day, I got another job offer. And then the next day, another one. And then we had to decide which one you were going to take. And all of these businesses are people that you've never, ever met before. And I remember there was a big hardware store. That was the one I really liked, mainly because I knew the business and I knew it was big. But you ended up going for this one, and I think this was the second job offer that you received. Was that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the rest is history. That is fantastic. But Tom, I wanted to ask you, because we've got 10 minutes to go, and I want to make sure that we've got time for questions. Although I'm going to answer a couple of questions very, very quickly. Some people have asked about specific questions about LinkedIn. Don't worry about that here. Join the LinkedIn workshop that we run, and we'll go through all of that and spend an hour on it. Probably not something we want to talk about here. What I would like you to talk about, Tom, is Isabella. And we've got, and I don't know if my producer is still up there, Steph, if you could put the link to Isabella's video in the chat for people to go and look at, but you'll find it in our YouTube channel. Anyway, tell us about Isabella and how you virtually ended up referring her to one of your mates for a job.
Yeah, so Isabella, we shorten everyone's names, it's Azone. She's from Brazil. She came to us, great attitude when she came in here, got into the internship, and just to sort of second something that Dom said, do an internship if you can. Really, it's great opportunity for you to understand how to work in an Australian business. And when you get there, make yourself indispensable, right? Be the first one there, be the last one to leave. Shashini can tell you how much of the time she and I were on Zoom together at 11 p.m. at night, 12 o'clock. My wife would come in, sort of half asleep, and say, who are you talking to? And I'd be like, I'm talking to Shashini, right? She made herself indispensable to us. Unfortunately, my great loss, our board said that we couldn't increase our head count at the end because of COVID, right? So someone else came to me and said, look, I really need a marketing person. And I said, I got the perfect person. Isabella was exactly the same. A company came to me and said, we need a marketing person. And I said, and the thing is that because of the hard work that Isa or Shash had done with us, I felt very confident sending them across, knowing that they'd make a very good impression. Because when I'm recommending people, my reputation's on the line a little bit, right? I can't send across a dummy. So if, do those internships, work really hard at them. Having said that, I've got 6,000 connections on LinkedIn, right? But there are 2 million people working in business in Melbourne. So I know the tiniest sliver of people. 5 of Shashini's job offers came through people who I didn't know, right? And I guess that's another point. She worked the LinkedIn angles well. She had me who would endorse her as a reference unconditionally and wholeheartedly. So she just did the work. And the outcome for Shashini is in 2 or 3 years' time, she'll be earning $120,000 a year. She'll be a senior marketing manager somewhere. And then she'll have to make the decision about whether she buys a house in Australia or goes and buys something back in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Right? That's what happens if you put the time in.
Wonderful. And look, we do have 6 minutes left, and although we always go over, but I want to make sure that we do cover everything. And if people do need to leave at the top of the hour, then you're welcome to. But there's one question there in particular that I would like to answer. And that is touching on Tom's point of you've got to send a personal message. It's really important. And someone said, what's the best message to send? It's easier than you think. So all of you are welcome to connect with me, I dare say Tom, Shashini, on LinkedIn. However, when you send the connection request, do it on your laptop, okay? Not on your phone. Because on your laptop, you immediately get an option to send a note. Now, you can do that on your mobile, but it's an extra step and you might miss it. So the message that you sent to me is really similar, okay? Hi, Dom. Notice how it's not Dominic, okay? And notice, and I don't know if your name's Thomas or Tom on your LinkedIn, but saying Dom means that you must have met me somewhere, and we have on this webinar. And say, hi, Dom, thanks so much for sharing. Thank me for something. Thanks so much for sharing your insights on how to get a job here in Australia, or thanks for introducing us to the lovely Shashini and Tom. Whatever it is, would love to catch up with you for a coffee when the Student Centre opens later in the new year. Regards, whatever your name is. That's it. You don't ask me for a job. That's the message to send. It's friendly, it's short, and your lovely photo comes. It's a beautiful message. I would be so rude not to connect with you. And so that's how to do it. So please, for the last bit, I would love to answer any questions that you had. And again, you know, if you haven't been very active on LinkedIn up until this point, that's okay. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time to plant a tree is today. And I think that, you know, that says, you know, just start your LinkedIn and start that process now. Another thing I wanted to mention was that events. So Shashini, did you go to many online events during your internship?
I attended the webinars from
that's what I mean. And to me, and although I do agree with Tom that you've got to send out lots and lots of connections, if you can send them out with meaning, your chances of them being accepted is going to be even greater. Now, I go to at least 3 to 5 webinars a week. When it wasn't COVID, I would go to meetups, okay? But webinars are fine. And my goal at each of those webinars is to connect with the 3 most significant people on that webinar that may one day give me some business, or in your case, get you a job. And so the way to do that, the message you would then send is something like, you know, hi, presenter, loved your speech about JavaScript and whatever it is, you know, would love to connect and so that I can keep up to date with all the other stuff that you're talking about. So that's the way to do that. Okay, I can see lots of questions coming through. People know that I love coffee, so catching up for coffee. Nina, you've got it. Come and see me. I'll have a coffee with you for sure. I might even bring Tom or Shashini along. That's fine. There's a few people in who've posted their LinkedIn connections in the chat, which is terrific. You know, we all should be connecting. And I particularly like that there's a couple of people, Joe Teng has gone in and created a custom URL. So LinkedIn will give you this ridiculously long URL, but you can actually go in there and you can change it to something that's nice and short and looks really good.
Guys, I'm just looking in the chat at the moment, right? When you're in webinars, screenshot all the people who are in the webinar and then go out to them afterwards and say, hey, we're in the webinar together. It'd be good to connect. They're your contemporaries, right? You know, I'm looking in the chat here. Nina Lee has like made 15 comments. Like, I'm going to remember her.
Yeah.
I'll connect with her after this meeting because I like the activation.
Yeah.
So take advantage of that to get your numbers up, right? And you know, who was it? We had one of our interns, Aida. She got a job in this company. They needed someone else, so they introduced one of our other interns to a job at that company. I think Shashini asked me about some people they needed and if I knew anyone, and I introduced someone else to her. These networks are important, right? If if you're in IT and you join a company that's growing, inevitably they're going to need more IT people. So you'll be able to introduce your friends, and your friends will be able to introduce you.
Yep. And also too, and a lot of people didn't know this. I'm just going to quickly share my screen. In Zoom, you can actually save. Oh, it's disappeared now. If you go right down the bottom of the chat, there's 3 little dots in the corner. If you click on that, there's an option there to save the chat. So that will save the chat, and you will have every single thing that went through that chat, so that you don't have to make lots and lots of screenshots. So look, I mean, there's never enough time to talk about this stuff. And Tom, you and I, we can, and have, and Shashini too now, we can put the legs off a chair. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Tom, we really appreciate the way that you embrace internationals in this country. We love it that you've taken 10 interns from us and either employed or found jobs for more than half of them. Shashini, thank you so much for giving up your time again. I know you're busy in your new job, so please thank your employer as well. And I believe that you're going to be taking a couple of interns in the new year. How lucky are those international students going to be? That's wonderful.
One is going to be Tom.
So now Tom's going to work for you. That's wonderful. And Jerry,
now I'm scared that Shashini's going to take all the good interns away from me. We'll be battling over them.
And Jared, any final words? And perhaps for our listeners, what should they be doing now with all these wonderful things that Study Melbourne is doing as part of Career Catalyst?
Yes, Dom, and well done, Tom and Shashini and Dom. Another brilliant presentation. I'd like to, I suppose, thank everyone for attending, but also we are going to be offering some scholarships for internships and some other related things that are of high value. And the way we're going to do that next year is the people that have participated the most amongst Career Catalysts. So I suggest go and do a CV check. Go and perhaps enroll in the interview training workshops or the interview training course, or attend these webinars. We do track participation, and we are going to look at some prizes next year. So I'll just encourage everyone to go and get involved as much as they like. And if you're finding it valuable, please tell your friends. We've only just launched it. We haven't done any marketing, but let your friends know about it if you think it's valuable, because we've got to lift the tide together. So help your mates out, let them know. And we look forward to taking the Career Catalyst forward over the next couple of years, really, and helping you all to get jobs.
And
yeah, I'd second that. Please talk to your friends about outcome, because outcome's true to its name. There's very strong outcomes for people. Dom's right. Way more than half of the interns that we've had through here have got full-time jobs. Good full-time jobs in Australia out the end of the internship. And it's not, okay, we do a little bit to guide them, but they're good people, right? Yeah. There are lots and lots of great people out there, and there are jobs for you. You've just got to get them.
Yeah. And for those of you who are just starting out on LinkedIn, please connect with us. I would be so honoured to be your first connection if you don't have a LinkedIn profile. And I'm sure Jared would love to be second, Shashini third, and Tom fourth, and even the great man Chris Lee. On LinkedIn though, his LinkedIn name is Chris Lee, not Cristiano.
Yeah.
So
and you know what, Shashini and I will assist you in getting those photos right. I've helped lots of people I haven't met before, critique there. I mean, I'm sure that happens through the LinkedIn workshops, but if you want a bit more one-on-one, after the last webinar, I think that Shash and I helped about 10 people with their LinkedIn profiles. Surprise, surprise, lots of them have got jobs now. One of them is coming to intern with us early next year. So, and she lives in Sydney, right? But she was a superstar. She reached out. I'll make sure that I help her get a job.
Wonderful.
At the end of the internship.
Excellent.
Be active and get involved with outcome. It's important.
Fantastic. And one thing you could do too is that, take some of this Career Catalyst stuff and maybe post it on your LinkedIn and keep posting stuff about the things that you're interested in and the areas that you wish to work in. Share articles, do all that type of thing. You will be amazed. And Joe, if you're still out there, Joe yesterday put up, he posted a little article about the webinar we did yesterday on how to create a LinkedIn profile. The number of people that are now connected with him, absolutely amazing. So we know it works. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. Thank you, Study Melbourne. We really appreciate the work that you do. Shashini, Tom, Jared, Chris, and our producer, Steph, in the background. Thank you, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you in our next webinar, which will be in the middle of January. Thanks very much.